Magic of with Paul Roffman. I have a very special guest today. It's my friend Darren Darnborough. He is a number of amazing things. He's an actor, he's an entrepreneur, he's a traveler. He's done many things, and he keeps pushing the envelope. So, I'll let him tell us about it. Hey, Darren.
Hey, Paul. Good to see you. How you doing?
Good to see you. Where are you?
I'm currently in Vancouver, Canada.
Vancouver, Canada. I hear that's a place. Canada's become this. Canada, when I grew up, was kind of an adjunct to America, and now it's become like everyone's talking about Canada.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's like,
Is it the new like trend or something?
I think it's like the new. It could be, maybe it will become the new LA. Maybe LA will die off and everyone's just going to be in Canada. I
mean, hey, I think that might have slightly happened already, and I'm liking it in that way. So yeah, I actually think it's got a lot of similarities to LA. Well, sorry, not Canada, but Vancouver.
Right.
Being West Coast, but it's just smaller and more compact. But it has that still kind of LA vibe, actually.
In what way? I mean, is it? I get the impression it's friendlier, or like more not friendlier, but more real.
It's real. It's reasonable. People are reasonable, polite, but no, in the sense that there's a big workout culture here, there's a big beach culture, everyone's outdoors all the time,
right.
When it's sunny. Obviously there's bad weather here as well, but when the weather's good, you're surrounded by quite a nice body of water in Vancouver, so there's a lot of beach activities, sports, water sports, people taking like paddle boards out and jet skis and stuff like that. But also it's nice and clean, and it's modern. I think the things I'm thinking of is like it's framed by mountains, so there's hiking in sort of similar proximity to LA.
Yeah.
The vibe, there's quite a nice young vibe here as well. So because LA can often feel like quite a young, fun town, and that's what Vancouver feels like in ways. But in many ways it's different. But then of course the entertainment industry has a strong presence here as well. So they do a lot of productions here. So the film industry it's not like alien to this place.
Yeah, and everyone seems they get work in LA and they end up in Vancouver or Toronto.
Right, because that's where a lot of the shows shoot. Yeah.
In fact, I wonder if post-pandemic, LA is going to try and grab the industry back, because I'm not even sure. Atlanta might suffer in terms of filming in the future, and I think a lot of stuff might be pulled back to LA. Do you think so?
I don't really know, actually, to be honest, because like I know that Atlanta, Tyler Perry's studio released their COVID plans pretty quick.
Oh, right.
Where they're going to quarantine the actors in hotels on site and things like that. And they have a massive studio there, so they have it set up to actually sort of be a little oasis. I'm not sure. I mean, the stuff that I'm hearing from the industry from all different angles is that I don't think it'd be a geographical thing. The thing that people are worried about is people traveling in, because obviously anyone that travels in from anywhere else is subject to quarantine restrictions right now.
Right.
So, let's say, so Canada, we're in our phase 3 of reopening, which means that productions can start again, which is a big difference to them actually starting. The fact they can start, it's not like a restaurant where you put a few checks in and then you open. I think people are worried about insurances and protocol and things like that, but they obviously can't bring talent in from the US right now, or they can, but it'd be more difficult because the border is closed. Mm-hmm. The border is open to people that are essential, which means work is essential, but it just doesn't seem like it would make financial sense for them to fly someone up, have them quarantine for 2 weeks before even starting work.
But what I don't understand is, if you can be tested, surely if you're tested, they test you, you have got it or you don't have it, and then why do you need to be quarantined if you can get the results immediately?
Well, because isn't it aren't some of the symptoms asymptomatic though?
But you can, if they're asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic, sorry.
Yeah, asymptomatic. You still know if they've got it, don't you?
Oh, do you?
I don't know.
I'm not sure, because apparently, if there were no tests, there would be no coronavirus.
Yes, exactly.
Didn't somebody famous said that?
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, if there was no clear blue, there would be no babies.
Right. Okay. Sounds like a twat, whoever it is. I don't know. uh, yeah, I mean, in a sense, this is the problem. Like, we don't know what's going on. It's all very confused, but we'll wear a mask and persevere. So you came to LA. Let me see. I met you in around 2010.
Yep.
And I think you'd been here at that point, what, 3 or 4
Three
years?
three and a bit years. Yeah, I came in 2006.
And where are you from?
London, England.
Whereabouts? Oh, London and England.
Edmonton, North London.
Right.
Yeah.
Barely London, let's be honest.
It's on the edge. It's on the edge. The official statement for the borough, the tagline for the borough is London's top borough, okay. Which is a bit of a double entendre because it's just at the top.
Oh, right. Okay. And did you grow up there?
Yeah, in Edmonton. Yeah. So, yeah. And then I went to university in Royal Holloway, which is in Egham, which is just outside of London, but that's still University of London. And then after university, I lived in Greenwich Borough for a while before I moved to LA. And so I moved from north to south.
Was that a yearning thing? Was that something you'd always wanted to do?
Greenwich or LA?
No, not Greenwich.
It'd always been moving to America had always been a little pang of mine. It'd been like a thing, not like a definite plan, but when I was 16, I met a girl from Hawaii in a nightclub in London, as you do. And we wrote to each other for a couple of months, and then she invited me out to Hawaii for the summer, and I went. And that experience sort of changed my life perspective of it, as it was, just seeing the way they lived their life and how different their upbringing was to mine, and their environment and their school and things like that. And she had really nice friends, and just the whole environment. And also Hawaii was the first time I've been outside of Europe, I think, at that point. So I was quite well traveled within Europe, but there was a whole different perspective of, I think, an English speaking country being so wildly different and sort of paradisey. And so I remember just the whole Hawaii experience really changed my personality and my motivation and my ambition and all these things, but not specifically like, oh, I want to move to Hawaii one day, or I want to move to America. But I think that thing was just there. But my actual catalyst for moving to LA was a lady called Zora de Horta, a casting director from England that worked in MGM for a while. She was doing a seminar in London, and it was a rainy London night, and me and two friends of mine had gone to see this seminar. I told them about it, and Zora just had this amazing energy, and she's so enthusiastic and just excited about the industry. And she's coming from this LA perspective, even though she's British. And she was, her class was so giving and so specific and pragmatic and exciting. And I just like, wow, I feel like I like the way they do things in LA, hearing her talk about that in that way. And so then me and my two friends, we went to some dingy pub under Waterloo Bridge after this, and it was pouring down outside, and we were sat in the corner of this dark, dingy pub, me and these two hot model actress girls, and there was a couple of old fellas in the corner sat hunched over their pints like this. And it was a depressing scene. It just really was a depressing scene. Because we were like, me and the two girls were frustrated with our careers. We'd heard this woman speak about LA. And they were like, well, I think I'd like to move to LA. And I said to them, I'd just been, one of my businesses at the time, we've been organizing an exhibition for the showbiz industry.
Right. And
as part of my research, I'd found this lawyer's number that claimed to get you visas for America. So I said to my friend, well, listen, I don't know if this guy is legit or not. I don't know if it works, but I have this guy's number, and he gets working visas for America, but it's not cheap. It's like $3,500 it was at the time, pounds. But my friend had just done a massive Bailey's commercial where she earned 30 grand in a day.
Nice.
So I said to her, look, I don't know about this guy, but if I was you and I just earned 30 grand in one day, I think I'd take a 10% punt on that.
Right.
And she did. And 3 months later, she was living in LA in a gorgeous apartment complex with a pool and a hot tub, and booked a role on ER.
Nice.
And I went out to visit her, and I was just like, I got to move here. So then I set my wheels in motion. And actually, the other girl that I was with also moved there that year as well. So the three of us had all done it from that seminar.
And are you still in contact with that group?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, my friend Jane is not there anymore, but Hannah is. Yeah, Hannah's still there, has a family there. Yeah, her husband came over, and yeah.
So you're I always think of you as quite a creative thinker. You're always coming up with ideas, different businesses. You're one of those people that I think in these circumstances deal with what's in front of you, and you're able to pivot, which I think is a really important skill, sort of in our modern world, because there's nothing guaranteed anymore. There hasn't been anything guaranteed for years, and I think you're one of those.
That's
guys.
how I've always lived my life. Actually, there's nothing guaranteed, but yeah, it's more so now for sure.
Yeah, and even before all this stuff was happening, I mean, I met you through the Brits in LA, and you're one of the founding members of three, I think. Yeah,
the three of us started it, me, Craig, and Eileen, yeah.
And Brits in LA was intrinsically a way to help British expats. Was it primarily in the industry, or was it just Brits in general? I think it was. No,
it was just Brits in general, and anyone that likes Brits. So it was a bit of a mixture of just forming a community for people that are out of their own country, but also any Anglophiles, or it was really just a social group, but it was sort of themed around British people at the start. Now it's obviously evolved into much more of being that specific. But honestly, the way we started it at the time was just born out of being social. It wasn't it was an evolution. It wasn't a specific, hey, let's start a Brits in LA group. We actually just had a big party one night, and me, Craig, and Eileen hosted it. And other people started being like, hey, you guys going to do another Brits in LA party? And we're like, oh.
Why not?
Because we were Brits in LA.
Mm-hmm. But it was also, so you were here, 2006, 7, something like that?
I came late 2006.
2006. So pre the crash and
yes.
Pre what would be the actors' strike, writers' strike.
Which was the same year, wasn't it, I think?
It was around, I think it was around 2008, all of that kicked in.
Yeah.
2009. And so you were here at kind of like quite a good point, I suppose, and then it
was, Paul, when I think back, it was, and I talk to people about this all the time, actually. I was just talking to another friend of mine about it. It was quite a magical time. And I know everyone thinks about their experience as being, something, I don't want to say iconic, but within their own life. But that said, when I read other people's, like there was an article in the Hollywood Reporter about this. So I'm not the only person that thinks that sort of late 2000s was a very special time to be in LA.
Right.
But I thought just because I was new and it's exciting. But when you talk back and speak to people, it was that kind of period, that sort of, 2005 to 2009 was wonderful for many reasons.
Right. It was, around so I came here 2010. Things were recovering. It was just the beginning of the recovery here, so things were starting to go.
Yeah.
And were you acting previous to coming to LA?
Yeah, I've been an actor since I was a kid,
right.
But professionally since 16, but amateur before that.
Right. So you were cracking on, but you had this much broader view as well, and you've started up a bunch of companies. When I was here, you were helping people find work as servers and all sorts of things.
Well, I started a company in 2002 in England called Stuck for Staff, which was primarily for promotional models and brand ambassadors. So the pretty people that hand out free stuff. And we were the sort of first online database of that, largest in the world. And then we expanded that to the US. Actually, we sort of pivoted that to restaurant and wait staff, but that one never really took off because that was a business that I knew nothing about.
Right.
That was an industry that we knew nothing about. And we tried to pivot into that with the help of someone that did know about that. But I learned a very important lesson there, actually, is to not run businesses in industries you don't know about. Because firstly, you lack the passion for it,
Right.
and you lack the expertise for it. And so if you lose the person that does have that, then it's nothing. And you don't even have the desire to continue it. So yeah, our pivot part of the business didn't work, but our original business maintained because we were market leaders in that space, you know. And I actually just sold that business last year.
Oh,
Stuck for staff.
good
Yeah.
timing.
Yeah, well, it was, you know, I'd reached, me and my business partner, we both reached our sort of natural high with it of what we wanted to do with it. And so at that point, it's just, you know, it's just maintaining. And we had an interested buyer, and we wanted to continue you know, it does have a purpose, and it has a user base, and we didn't want to let it down. But at the same time, we didn't want to continue it ourselves. We both had other projects to do. So yeah, there's someone else running that now. So it still exists. It looks the same, but yeah.
So there were other projects to do. Now, I think the biggest thing was sort of we audition and we rehearse, and these were a couple of things that you kind of brought to the front, and really kind of timely, because I would imagine now they make absolute sense, these companies, these ideas.
Well, so yeah, We Audition and We Rehearse is the same company. We actually started out as We Rehearse, but we broadened the offering, and so we rebranded to We Audition because we just felt it spoke to more what we're about. And yeah, what We Audition is, for anyone that doesn't know, it's a video chat platform for actors and filmmakers to connect, to audition and rehearse and self-tape through video chat, just like what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And we actually had the idea for that in 2014. We spent a year knocking about the idea. And also, you know, me and my partners were very busy at the time, so we didn't crack on with it too quickly. And then in 2015, we'd solidified what we wanted to do with it. We opened the company and launched. Now, actually, I think we started talking about it in 2013, started the company in 2014, built the software, and launched it in 2015. So it's 5 years old now.
Wow.
Which is interesting because, like you say, is having a bit of that foresight. Is, you know, we obviously didn't know there'd be a pandemic, but we were predicting things going online more, and it being, we've always said it was a safer way of doing it, a quicker way, a more convenient, more efficient. You know, the first thing to sort of punctuate that was the whole Me Too movement. Obviously, a lot of that was centered around our industry and improper conduct within auditioning environments or meetings and whatever.
Right.
And, you know, we were like, this is one of the things that our software not solves, but helps alleviate, because you can't touch someone through video chat.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it at least puts that barrier up. And then obviously, when we'd always thought about it in terms of a proximity and the sickness way, but not in a pandemic sense, because now we've come to a place in life where you really have to assess, why would I be in a room with someone I don't know, let alone in a room with 100 people I don't know, tightly packed together, if it's not essential, right? And you could say, well, are we ever going to go to a bar again? Yeah, because that's really essential for the environment and the atmosphere and the music and the drinks and the whole experience, right? But waiting in a waiting room for your private audition, where you don't speak to the other actors because they're doing their thing, there's really no good reason for us to be doing that.
Yeah, and especially the whole setup, especially in LA. You know, most people spend their whole life driving from one side of town
around
to the other, looking for a
polluting the
space.
atmosphere. Yeah,
cool. Like it's a ridiculous city in terms of of transport. It's impossible to get around.
But even if you're not in that city, it's breaking down. Like I said, there's some things that require you to be in groups, right? Otherwise, you can't do it. If you want to play a game of football, you've got to have 10 other players around you, right? But auditioning is a solo exercise anyway.
Generally, I mean, I suppose the point is, you know, with a lot of these big auditions, and you know, I mean, you were in True Blood, you were in Roots, You've done quite a few interesting parts, and from what I gather, as you move through the audition sequence, and depending on the scope of the role, you certainly don't need the face-to-face early on. Down the line, when they're matching up people, fair enough. But it's such a waste of time.
Testing, maybe, but I mean, very few roles. In fact, I can't actually remember a role where I've been matched up in the room, except in commercials where they're trying to pair you up with things. But yeah, I think if you're referring to like when you're going into like network tests and stuff, the people on the other side of the camera increases with each audition. So you might be the casting associate first, then it's the director and producer, then you've got the whole network in there. But what I'm saying is my audition is still one-on-one, even if it's many. I don't need to be mingling with all the other actors. There's zero upside of that.
Yeah.
So when you look at what the downside is right now, the downside is getting sick. Well, the downside always was getting sick.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just never realized to what extent.
No, absolutely.
Right? And that's what I'm saying is our industry has always done things that way. And it's like, it doesn't make much sense to just be constantly in, even the fact of how long you spend doing it and waiting around and all that wasted time. Let alone if people are affected by there being other people around in terms of their performance or their self-esteem, And it's
that horrible thing when you go into an audition and you're sitting there and you're like, you've got your script, you're kind of getting in your zone, and you look up and there's John, who you haven't seen for years, who you never really wanted to see again, but he's there. He's there, and he looks up at you and you're like, oh no,
now he's going to talk to me, or he's not.
Yeah, he doesn't stop talking. I want to concentrate, and then, hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. You're like, oh, great. I'm just kind of trying to just be in the zone.
Yep.
So much that stuff.
So our software does away with all of that.
So what's the difference? So, I mean, initially your platform was about, if I had a script or I had a read coming up, I could look online, I could look through a number of actors, and I could get them to read with me, so I could get them to work, which is, that's really important, because all the time you get thrown a script the night before, and you're like, geez, I need someone to help me rehearse this. I need to work it through with someone, and you're Facebooking friends, who's around. You've got this platform where people will jump on, and not only would you get someone who might be helpful, but you might get someone who, and quite often you will, there's people there who are really good coaches.
Yeah, or they've actually been in the show you're auditioning for, or they have the right accent, or they're just a good partner to bounce off with, yeah.
My initial reticence was the idea that if you were given these scripts are very private a lot of the time, so you're sharing them with someone. How do you get around that element of it?
Well, so you do share them, but you're in control of that. So you upload it to the room, and then you can take it away again, right?
Right.
And look, we've done a lot of work on this, and we've done a lot of thinking about it. And ultimately, we decided it's not our problem, because when the actor gets that script, it got sent to their agent, and their agent sends it to them. And then if I was to call you up everyone knows you rehearse with someone, or you should be. So even if I call you up and around the house, I've printed a copy off and I've given it to you, right? So someone says, well, but then you don't take it home with you. And that's the same here. Yeah, you upload it, but then you can take it away again. You can delete it, right?
Yeah.
If the argument is, well, but what if that person downloads it or takes a screenshot? My argument is the same. Well, if I give it to you, Paul, and I go to the bathroom, you could take a picture on your phone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then on top of that, we're missing the main point is, as a job, our actor is to learn lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even need the script. It's up there. I could rewrite it out if I wanted to. Right? So whatever way I look at that argument about privacy of scripts, the privacy has to come from the person delivering the script. If you don't want your script out there, write some dummy scripts.
Right.
Write some fake scripts, which is what a lot of the companies do, because as long as I have one of these, I can take a picture of something. So there's even technology we can put into it to stop people cutting and pasting or right clicking, right?
Yeah.
But as long as you have a camera, then, or as long as you have a brain that remembers things, then you physically can't get around that.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of script privacy, everyone's just got to be, don't throw your script around anywhere. Be cognizant of where it's going. But ultimately, I'm going to say that the production companies and the casting people need to worry about that, because we as actors have to have the script, or we have to have a script, and we have to give it to someone else.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Otherwise, we can't do our job.
Fair enough. So it definitely developed from that, and I've used it for a couple of times for get someone on board. It's brilliant. You've got, it takes that pressure away. That's for sure. I mean, it's never going to be as good as someone in the room with you. Ultimately, there is something about being with somebody. There is an energy about it, but I don't know. Like I've been using it exclusively the last year and a half, and I now don't feel different about it at all. But most auditions now are, self-tape is the norm. And also what's great about it is you've got the whole world at your fingertips. Right.
That's the real thing, is you've got to weigh up the benefits. So it's about having someone available on demand, right? And then having the right person. So if I've got a scene about two guys that are on a buddy road trip and they've been friends since they were kids, right? I could do that with a girlfriend. I could do that with an older person. But really, the more I can get into my character, the more real it is for me, the more I'm going to do a better job, I think, as an actor, right?
Yeah.
It's not that I can't act with someone different, but it's like, as much as I can create the world to be real. So then if it is a British guy, then why not get a British guy? Why get an American doing an American accent, or an American trying to do a British accent, or whatever, when we could just get the right person? The second thing about it is getting someone that's been in the show. Like, I did an audition when I got to Canada. I landed, I got the audition on the plane. I said to my agent, I'm on the flight. I'll do it as soon as I get there. I literally took a taxi to my hotel, set up, we auditioning my thing. The audition was for, I think, CSI or NCIS, one of those shows. And the person opposite me was a female detective, right? I got a female in the right age range that had previously played a detective on that show.
Right.
To read my lines with me and do my self-tape. And here's the magic. Not only was she perfect for the role, but she also gave me a couple of little pointers where she's like, you know what, you got to pick up that cue a little quicker because this show is just a bit like this. And that's the magic.
Yeah.
Is they understand the tone and show, they understand the tone of the set. And, when I've actually booked jobs before, I've gone on the audition and asked if anyone's done that show before and just spoke to them about their experience, right?
Yeah.
Just for advice, because then I can tell if it's a warm set, or if it's a cold set, or if it's, are there things I should know about things I should take, or am I miles away from anywhere, or is there any complicated parking that I have to figure out, or, and they would just give me some nuggets, or like where to find the AD in the morning. It's like, if you can go armed with some knowledge and some familiarity, then why not?
Absolutely. And then you're working with someone who's absolutely perfect. And, it's that great, it's like quite often, it's a female character. She's, 30, and you end up getting some bloke who's your neighbor who's got no acting experience, reading lines off camera. Doesn't do you any favors in
and it's not like, look, you can book a job like that. It's not like you won't.
Yeah.
But why are you doing second best? And also, that neighbor's going to get bored after a couple of times. They're not going to give you the same.
Oh yeah,
they're not going to see the nuances.
It's awful. It's awful that it's great when you've got a mate who is a great actor and you can work with. But how often are they around? I mean, you're in bloody Vancouver now.
But and that's the thing, is like even when we think about why we started this, I was living in an apartment building where my girlfriend was an actor. I had like 3 series regulars, friends in the building, and we would all help each other. But even we had times when there was no one around.
Yeah.
Or at best, someone would be like, "Oh, I'm not home till 8 p.m. Can we do it at 8 p.m.?" and you're thinking, well, I've got birthday dinner then, but if that's the only time I can do it, well, fine, I'll have to cancel the birthday dinner. But like, then you get into that thing of why are you pausing your life for the potential job that you might get? I'm not saying it's not important to work hard, and I'm not saying social is more important than work necessarily. I personally think it's as important, because if you don't have a rounded life, you have nothing in what you're actually working for. But that aside, I'm like, well, if I've done my work and I'm ready to go, why don't I just do it right now? Why am I going to then sit on it for 5 hours until my friend gets home and work on that schedule? And then here's what happens. Your friend gets home and you go, oh, hey man, how was your day? And they're like, it was a nightmare actually. My car got towed. And you're like, I really want to talk to you about this, but can we do my scene? With We Audition, you don't get that. You just jump straight in because that person is there to serve you.
And, a really important thing about We Audition and kind of what you do, we're talking about this ability to work with someone, another actor, to help them work on a scene, read lines, etc. But that's not all We Audition is, and that's not all what you do, because a lot of what you do is about the social as well as about the real FaceTime interactive. I've been to numerous events that you've thrown where I've met
community building.
Yeah, and I've met loads of people. And, there's the cynical side of this whole acting game where it's like, oh, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
But I think when you've been around a bit, you kind of, you read through that. It's not a problem anymore, because everyone's here. Everyone wants a job. Everybody wants to make it. We all know that. And we all want somebody who can help us or give some sort of leg up or some clue into something. But when you get past that and you get past the bullshit level, people are just people, so you connect. And I've been lucky. I did one of your events, I think a few of your events actually in 2010, doing magic. I did it at your servers.
Yeah, that launch party, serving up stuff. Yeah.
We did it at the USA England game at the Peterson Museum. Yeah, that was a night, a day, whatever. It was a bit of an event, and you've thrown a lot of events. In fact, pre-pandemic, we just had an event at the Grove, a big drinks thing.
A We Audition mixer, yeah.
We Audition mixer, which was really good.
For pilot season that basically never happens.
Yeah, and it was a really good event, and I bumped into a load of people that I kind of half knew, some new people, made a few contacts, a few connections, and I was really not in the mood to go, and I sort of kicked myself up the arse to get there.
Good. I'm glad you did. Yeah. I mean, I did those events all around the world last year, and I did about 30 events in 30 different cities.
Yeah,
around the world. We did 14 countries total.
Well, you've become the nomad at the moment. How long have you been traveling now? Sort of a year and a half?
I mean, technically a year and a half, but like I've been in one place. I've been in Vancouver since March, but I was still on my nomadic journey at that point. Yeah. So technically I'm still a nomad, but I just hunkered down for COVID here.
And are you enamored with acting still?
I'm definitely going through a transition with it. And I'm not sure why or how, or there's a lot of stuff at play here. Okay. So yes, I still love it. I love doing it. And I'm very interested in the business, and also in a lot of ways, it's all I've ever done. This industry is all I know. So I know way more about this industry than any other industry, right? So there's a sort of longevity part of it. And I love working when I work, but the truth is we don't work that often.
Yeah.
What I don't like is the not working. And I don't mean the downtime, because I run businesses and I travel and I do all these other things. I never really feel like I have downtime. I'm not sitting twiddling my thumbs. I'm talking about the not working as being the stuff that goes on in the background whilst you're not actually on set, right? So I don't love auditioning, right? I don't mind when I'm doing the actual scene. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like it's like doing the scene, but I don't mind that bit. But all of the the fuss around it and all of the you know, it. I think the older I get, the more I start to see it as just extraneous stuff that we're put through in this industry that's unreasonable, especially if you start having friends in other countries or in other industries.
Yeah.
And it's like in no other industry is this amount of stuff reasonable, right? You progress up, you get to a place where you don't do these things anymore. Whereas that doesn't even seem to happen in acting, especially if you're not A-list, right? But even the A-listers complain about that. You know, they have a big movie and then they go back to having nothing again, right? So it's all that. And I'm talking about all the logistical stuff and all the expenses and all of that. It's just a bit, that's the bit I don't enjoy. Now, on the flip side, since becoming nomadic, I've always enjoyed my life as well. And even when I first moved to LA, I remember meeting people that I'd say, hey, you want to come check out this hike or this hot springs at the weekend? And they'd be like, no, man, I'm here to work. And I'm like, what? And they're like, you know, if you're serious about your acting, you won't be. I was like, hey, like, don't make an assumption that I'm not serious about my business because I want to take some time off and go and energize myself and do something for fun that's not a networking party or not meeting someone or whatever, right? And ironically, that's, you know, I feel one of my skills, I know a lot of people in the business, a lot of people all around the world. And I have good friendships in all those areas. And that doesn't come from the work. It comes from having a full life around those people as well, right? And having other things to talk about. And then my final point that is, if you're an actor, your job is to portray life. And if you're not living life, you know, that's why you see so many shows coming out of LA that are about writing a script or about the business or about, it's because these actors that turn into writers, that's all they know. They can't write about anything else. But does the general public want to see another TV show about a struggling writer? They can't identify with that.
Yeah.
They'd rather see a show about a guy that tries to open a dry cleaners and can't make it, you know? But we get sucked into this Hollywood bubble where we think that it's all important, and then people don't experience life. So I don't have a disdain for acting, but I definitely have a zest for all the other things that I try and keep at a healthy balance. And what's really interesting is I auditioned more and worked more last year being a nomad than I did in all the years before.
Right. And it's about this legitimacy, being legit. You know, the development of relationships don't happen overnight. You don't make friends in a minute. It doesn't happen like that.
And consistency,
which we were just, you know, when we started talking earlier before we went into the podcast, we were talking about consistency, and it's consistency of character, I think, ultimately. You know, when people realize who you are, and look, you're going to piss people off especially today more than ever. You know, you just open your mouth, somebody's offended. There's no, right. You know, you haven't done something enough. You don't agree with me enough. You have a different opinion. Suddenly I can't talk to you because you have a different opinion about something. You know, there's a difficulty of time, this kind of cancel culture. But the legitimacy is when you know people and you know you don't agree on certain things, but you can have a conversation about stuff. Mm-hmm. And actually that stuff is the stuff that makes you interesting.
Right.
Because that's
that's also how we learn and grow, isn't it?
That's how you learn and grow, exactly. And that's how you can go, well, you know, Darren's got more depth. You know, when we come back to acting, I talk about it with magicians. You know, most magicians, they would do themselves a favor by stopping watching magic. They'd do themselves they're better off watching movies and going to art galleries and going on a hike and traveling and going to comedy shows and getting inspired by other things. Then bring it to your chosen art and let it come.
This is so interesting because I would normally wear a hummingbird pendant around my neck, right?
Uh-huh.
A hummingbird skull. And the reason that is there's a speech by an author called Elizabeth Gilbert on Oprah Winfrey's network. It's like a TED Talk type thing. I forget what the actual speech is called, but her point is it's just very good for creators and people like us because she talks about how when she was growing up, she always felt like she didn't know what she wanted to do. And everyone was like, well, do you want to be this? Do you want to be a doctor? Or do you want to be a lawyer? Or do you want to be a writer? Or do you want to be this? And she used to say, well, I like lots of things. And was always feeling troubled by that. And I identify that because I genuinely enjoy doing lots of things. So sometimes someone said to me, well, how can you be an actor and a business person? I'm like, why not? And they might make a presumption. They're like, oh, well, the acting's not going very well, is it? I was like, why is that? They're like, well, because you're running a business. And I'm like, what makes you think you can't do both? Or be interested in both? And I would always say, they actually feed in and help each other, right? Even the ones that look like they don't. Well, this speech with Elizabeth Gilbert, she was saying how this hummingbird theory that she found is that the hummingbird takes a little from that plant and then cross-pollinates plants, and it goes around and it buzzes around to these different plants, and that's how you get new species of plants. She said the same exists in life, entrepreneurship, and the creative arts. If you didn't have hummingbirds in industries, you wouldn't have medical tech, or you wouldn't have human rights law, because all like the medical people would be doing medical, all the tech people would be doing tech, and they wouldn't ever cross-pollinate. It's only when you have a doctor that understands tech that goes, hey, maybe this will work over here, that's, you look at another podcast I listened to, a guy called Ty Lopez. He always talks about how he only goes to conferences of things outside of his industry. He said, like he's one of the most successful social media marketing people in the world, right? He said, so you won't find me at a social media marketing conference unless they're paying me to speak. He goes, you know where you'll find me? At an agriculture conference.
Right.
And I get people say, why are you going to an agriculture conference? He said, because there's going to be one element of what someone says there that I think no one's using that in social media marketing.
Yeah.
This concept or this idea or this way of doing things, I can take that to this industry and I can thrive with it. And I think that's the sort of the cross-pollination we're talking about. That's the good stuff. And that's how you get innovation, and that's how you move forward.
And you see it with Elon Musk. I mean, look at him. Look at what he's brought to the world.
Right.
He didn't come at it from one angle.
Yeah.
He's doing things that you would never conceived of. A tunnel under LA to help the transport. The crazy truck, the cyber truck. I mean,
yeah.
The space exploration. I mean, that is someone who's thinking outside. I hate to use the term outside the box. But he's thinking in a grander scale. In the fact that everything can inspire and influence. And I think as actors, what's happened is there's so much crap on because now it's all about content. And sometimes I think it's content to the exclusion of quality or thought.
Yeah.
And it's kind of political as well because, it's almost like the other argument is we're not believing in the science. We're not believing in the intellect. We're not believing in thought. And there's a whole group who negate that because I feel or I think it's this and I sense it's that. But it's baseless, and we have to build on a base, on a platform, in order to communicate something that is hopefully everybody can understand. And this sense of negating intellect or education, and I don't mean privileged education in the sense, I mean education in the broader sense, because quite often your best education happened way after school. It's that ability, that sudden moment where you start reading books or start thinking about history or start delving down avenues you didn't know about. And you do that with maturity. That's maturity where that comes. And, the problem is, I think there was a period where we were, great movies, great actors. I mean, I grew up being inspired by De Niro and Pacino, and I assume it was the same for you.
Yeah.
Those were the guys that, that made you want to. Marlon Brando, Richard Dreyfuss, Eddie Murphy. I mean, different areas, but there seemed to be just a more depth, and perhaps I see a lot of the new things, and I don't know, potentially it's an age thing as well, but there's very little depth. It's very, very surface. And the great things, I think, have more depth. I mean, that's where those Quentin Tarantino movies are.
Well, also, though, you got to remember that we're just creating way more content now. So there's less curation.
Yes.
Whereas back in the day, I'm not saying you couldn't make a bad movie back in the day, but there's a lot that went into it and there was fewer being made.
Yeah. But there were also the gatekeepers back then.
That's what I'm saying. So now, as much as there's these problems with gatekeepers, and that's why we're having issues with representation on screen and all these things. But at the same time, the gatekeepers is what makes a difference between YouTube and a TV station. Is someone said these things are good. Someone pre-filtered it for you. Now if I go to YouTube, I don't watch anything on YouTube that's not specific to something I need to see.
Right.
I never just browse YouTube because I don't have the time to sift through a bunch of crap.
Yeah. Hopefully
finding one nugget, right? I want the library to do that for me. And so then I'll look at stuff on Netflix, but even Netflix has so much content that there's a lot of rubbish on there. I don't want to say rubbish because that's really slating someone's work, but things that I don't think have depth or that aren't interesting to me or whatever. And not to say that everything on a TV stage was interesting either, but I do respect experienced eyes narrowing that down.
But it's a difficult one because there's stuff that you and I would think was rubbish or
someone else loves
that they love, that's watched by millions and millions of people on YouTube.
Yeah, which is a democracy of content that we have now, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But it comes with its fault, and its fault is there's too much. And so you're lost in the sea. So can anything truly stand out again? And have we got back to a place where massive marketing is key? Because, is that thing on Netflix down here any better than this thing?
Yeah.
Maybe not, but this thing had all the billboards.
Yeah.
So you still watch this thing.
Yeah.
Because someone told you to watch it with marketing dollars.
So there's still, there's still a need for PR and promotion and advertising.
More than ever, I'd say. Yeah. More than ever. Because there's no curation anymore.
Right. We're still looking for that. I think there was a thing I think Umberto Eco said years ago, and it resonated with me, and I sort of paraphrase. I don't know where it was, but it was about, he was talking about this in, I don't know, it would have been probably the 80s or 90s, where he talked about the access to information is massive. So it's not about getting the information, it's about finding the right information.
Right.
Or the useful information. And so what I think is happening, and I hope we come over the other side of it. It's like the Twitter sphere experience where you can just have an argument with everybody.
Right.
And people are writing pages and pages arguing a point. Which becomes like writing a PhD thesis.
Of course. Yeah.
And what a waste of time. Just a total waste of time, because there's so much you could be doing that's useful, and you're arguing with some troll on Twitter.
Well, this is one of those things of like why I refrain from posting controversial stuff on social media, right? Not because I don't believe in anything, and not because I don't believe in the power of influence or platform. Well, firstly, I don't feel like I have that much influence, but I know we all have influence, right? But that whenever I have done anything like that, the engagement is just too much, right? Mm-hmm. And I think for me, that conversation is arbitrary compared to what I can do with my businesses or with my leverage in another way, right?
Yeah.
And so that's we've been seeing a lot lately about silence is violence, or like if I don't see you doing this, then you're not doing anything. And I take a little bit of objection to that, because for someone like me, let's take the recent Black Lives Matter movement. Mm-hmm. I was as horrified as everyone else that believes in that movement of what I saw and the things that came. But some people got to posting immediately on social media their disgust, whereas I took a deep dive into news, various news sources, finding out, and then into education, into reading, I did make one social post where I was saying, look, I am proud of all the stuff that I have done in my past towards being anti-racist, and the things that, because I look, when I'm doing my research, I'm like, wow, these are things that I've been doing for years. And people are saying, oh, you should watch this book or read this documentary, watch this documentary or read this book. And I'm like, I was telling you about that 5 years ago. And here's my Facebook post where I shared it, right? Just because I didn't share it right now. But on the flip side, it also exposed to me all the extra work that I do need to do, in which case I sought out resources and reading materials and had private conversations. I was doing a lot, but not posting on my social media every new meme that came along, right? Now, I saw somebody, I think it might be Trevor Noah or someone like that, said, as long as someone's doing something, it shouldn't be about, are you posting on social media? Because if someone with 500 Twitter followers, right, that might be all they can do. So then, yes, you should post some hashtags, right? If you believe in something. But if you have a bigger leverage, if you have a bigger platform, make some actual changes. Don't just post your disgust with things. And it's a bit like, when we're all praying for wildfires in Australia, that has no effect on the wildfire. Literally none.
Praying to stop the wildfires.
Right. It will not stop the wildfire.
Yeah.
If you're donating to a benefit that can help the firefighters or save the koalas or whatever, right? It's like, do something that has action. So for me, my action comes through my companies and my leadership.
Sure.
And the changes that we were making, or the amplification of things we were already doing, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where I want to direct my energy.
Yeah.
Whereas, in terms of like engaging in a debate on Twitter with some people, I'm not saying you shouldn't.
But
I'm not saying it's invaluable. But for me, I had a better use of my time to achieve a much greater effect.
Sure. And when somebody shouts at you, you should do this. Why should I do this? I mean, who are you to tell me to do this?
Yeah.
Most of these things happen in a spark, and there's whatever happened to actually thinking about something,
Right. Well, it's the knee-jerk responses that can be dangerous.
Very dangerous.
But also because there's a lot of, that's how misinformation spreads. But also, no, I mean, I do think that we should be challenging each other. I do think that there's a way to do it. But I think people should come from the things that asking, well, what are you doing? Before going, well, you're not doing X.
But that also comes from conversation and nuance. And
Right. Because if someone asks me what I'm doing, I'll be happy to tell them.
Yeah.
But if someone says, I don't see you doing anything, well, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening.
And what business is it of yours anyway, what I do? There's a lot of people.
I think it is, in terms of us changing perspective. Like we have to project what we believe in for a cause, otherwise things don't happen.
Yeah, but a lot of people do stuff for major charities. They don't go around shaking their little thing saying, I do this.
Yeah.
They do it quietly.
Exactly.
They have no need to virtue signal the fact that they do something so everyone go, oh, you're so wonderful.
This is the thing, is the virtue. That's the problem. Is like the people that are doing it for virtue.
Virtuous. You're so wonderful. Yeah. Oh my God.
Right.
And it's like,
it's finding the happy medium with that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's finding the middle ground where you can amplify the voice or the purpose that needs to be amplified without, we can't be presumptuous about people. That's what I'm saying. If you're looking at a friend of yours and you think they're not doing enough for a cause that you believe in, right? Especially if it's a worldwide cause like what we're going through at the moment, then challenge it, but don't be presumptuous. I would say, for me, I would ask that person, what are you doing? Or can I help you in any way? Or do you want to have a conversation about it? But if you come from a place of you didn't post on your social media, therefore you're doing nothing.
Well, there was the blackout, wasn't there? There was the classic, everyone put this black
square
on, and then they went, no, don't do that. We've blocked out all the information. Change the hashtag. But
right.
You really got to spend all your time on these kind of social media platforms to even know what's going on. And actually, you might be doing something useful, like going down and helping the homeless people in LA, or providing food, or there's plenty of things going on that you don't need to scream and shout about, but you can be involved in and do.
Right, and I think that's a bigger conversation, really, because again, being useful depends on what your belief is and how. I think what you're getting at really is don't do things arbitrarily with no effect. Right. Yeah. And that doesn't make you virtuous just by doing something quick and basic. Doesn't really help. Yeah. It's better that people actually do some hard work and research, and like if you want to support a movement, know why you're supporting it, get to the root of it in here and in here before you go telling everyone else how to behave, and that's certainly how I've been handling it. Is I do think that especially with our current platform, we've been championing diversity and inclusivity on screen since we started. That's one of our mission mandates, right? But there's still more to do. So that's what we've been doing, is going, okay, this situation's happening. It needs more work. How can we do that? How do we show up?
And I mean, you've also got to have the story that you want to tell. If we come back to the artistry of it, you're going to be coming at things from your perspective, what you've learned, and we come full circle to exposing ourselves to all different things and then having an opinion, and it may not sit well with everybody. And it may be ironic, or it may be satirical.
Well, so one of the biggest things whenever I do entrepreneurial discussions on podcasts and things, I come back to this word of audacity, right? I think entrepreneurs need to be audacious, because if you don't, then everything's just vanilla, right? Sometimes you've got to just be bold, almost obnoxious with your idea. Let's take the current company. When we started We Audition, or We Rehearse as it was known then, people were like, not everyone, but some people were like, well, what's the point of this? Like, what? We don't need this already. And I said to a few people, you just don't know you need it yet. Yeah. Right. And that's my job as an entrepreneur, is to sometimes go, well, no, I have this idea. Now, so there's two schools of thought here. One school is find a problem that people are having, solve it for them. That makes you an entrepreneur, right? I like to come from the angle of, well, what problem do I foresee that people don't know they've even got? Right? Is there a better way of doing something that no one's sitting there going, I don't know how to do this. This is impossible. But the way they're doing it might not be the best way. So they don't actually have the problem, they think. But you can expose them to a different way of working that makes more sense. Before cars, everyone was fine with a horse.
Well, nobody needed an iPod, did they?
No one needed an iPod.
No one thought.
The Walkman.
No one thought I need 10,000 songs in my pocket, and then they invented this thing and marketed it the right way, and suddenly, wow, we all need 10,000 songs in our pocket.
Right, and now it seems impossible to live without the simplicity of, even if you don't want 10,000 songs, you certainly don't want to carry a stack of tapes around with you anymore. Yeah. Or listen to the same thing all day long.
Yeah.
So, you have to, and what I say about being audacious is in that sense, you can't even do market research like some of the entrepreneur books and methods tell you, because you could go out there and say, hey, so would you use something like this? And people go, no. But then you build it and they use it and suddenly they're like, oh, this is great. Or you could fail. You could fail at that. That's the risk that you have to take.
And I think this is really an important part, and I think I'd like to dig down into this, because this is about creativity. It's about business. I mean, forget acting or anything. It's about everything, actually. When you come up with an idea, a lot of people will say that's rubbish. You can't do that. What's the point of that? What happens if we fail? You're going to look like an idiot. This happens all the time, and we experience it as actors all the time. Rejection, insecurities. What's the point? Someone else has done that. They do it much better, blah, 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 blah. But
Yeah.
the reality, the reality in the broader sense of life is that if you've got up off your couch, that is a pretty good start. If
Right.
you're not the person sitting on your couch eating Doritos all day, you've made a change, you've done something. And all this stuff is incremental. It's all connected as well. So that fact, it's the same as meeting you in 2010. We develop our friendship and our communication over 10 years, over a decade.
Yeah.
And that's not living in each other's pockets, or that's occasionally chatting.
It's repeated interactions over time, isn't it?
And then
consistency.
And things pop up along the way, and you go, "Oh, I know who I should speak to," or "This will be interesting." And it's like like talking to you. It's like, oh, perfect. Darren's going to be. He's got a lot to say. He's got a lot of experience. He's done things that most people haven't. And we tend to negate that. We tend to forget the things that we've done that actually have value, because, especially I think the Brits, because, it's like, well, what have you done? Like, oh, yeah, I did a show. Oh, really? What was the show? Oh, it was, a few hundred people. It was a thing. Whereas the Americans are much more, wow, I did this show. There were 100 people. I'm an award-winning performer, blah, blah, blah. And that's definitely a
we play stuff down. We
Yeah.
play stuff down because we don't want to look like we're being obnoxious.
Yeah, basically. But also, I think sometimes that's detrimental to the fact that, again, it comes back to balance. But we need to, it's funny. I look back at some of the stuff I've done and I see these pictures. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, I did that thing. I actually did that thing, and that idea wasn't a bad idea, and that got me to today. And I mean, like, you came and saw me at the castle, at the Magic Castle in LA, and that, doing my show, was a huge journey to get to that point. But it was all interconnected.
Right.
You can't just pull out one thread and say,
no, not at all. It's all as a result of another thing. That it's like the butterfly effect, isn't it? Yeah.
But we have to be proactive in it, and we have to be careful about those people who go. It's the same as the media reporting about stuff, where this could be this might be this.
Yeah.
Everything could be this and might be this.
Well, and getting back to your thing on proactivity, that's the one thing. It's like, that's everything, because you hear a lot in our industry or in life about being lucky or being right place, right time, whatever, right? And I don't think that doesn't exist. But life is a series of proactive choices. Nothing ever just happens, right? Mm-hmm. And you get people that want to believe that, oh, it just happened to me, I just fell into it, whatever. I was like, no, you look, if you're not from LA and you get a job in LA, an acting job, right? If you say you just fell into it because, let's just say, wild situation, you were sitting in a coffee shop and someone was like, hey, you look great. You could be great for, I mean, I actually had that situation happen. I was at breakfast at Cicconi's one day,
right,
way back when, and someone was like, hey, you going in for that Beatles movie? I was like, I love the Beatles. They're like, you look like John Lennon. I was like, I look like John Lennon? Really? She's like, I can see it in your face shape. I was like, I've never had anyone tell me I look like John Lennon, but okay. Well, anyway, she literally connected me with the casting director, who is Victoria Burrows, and I got brought into to audition for John Lennon for the Beatles movie that Robert Zemeckis was doing. Right? Did I fall into that? Sure. But I was in LA at a place in West Hollywood where certain people hang out, curating a breakfast for other people. Yeah. So already I was known in that circle. So it's not falling into it, right? Just because you have a happy accident or whatever, in the same way, look, I feel very lucky and grateful to be in British Columbia right now. We have very low COVID cases, right? Mm-hmm. So I can be lucky to be in a place that's safe. It's beautiful. I've had lots of exercise, but there was a series of conscious choices that I made to be here before COVID for other reasons. Yeah. And there's a series of conscious choices that I made to stay here. Mm-hmm. So was it lucky? Was it fortunate? Or did I exact that in many ways? And I think if we go through life understanding that we always have a choice, we always have a path to take. And if we make educated decisions, I make impulsive but educated decisions. And a lot of the stuff I do looks very like whimsical and impulsive, but I always think about it, maybe not for weeks on end, but I'll weigh it up and I'll be decisive.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm in Vancouver.
Right. And I think that's, that's having the conversation. That's the sense of even me developing this idea of doing a podcast and interviews. And hopefully it's interesting. And hopefully I'm interested. I'm engaged, right? So hopefully that comes across when someone else is watching it. Hopefully someone will see this. If it's one person or 100,000 people, doesn't matter. That one person go, oh, that was interesting. Or there was that bit that was interesting. That
right.
But also, there's so many offshoots of that. There's so much broader aspects to that. Because there's the fact that both of us are performers, right? And we're up there. And so if one person happens to see this, they go, oh, actually, those guys are quite interesting for something else I'm doing. Or I'd like to have a discussion with Darren or Paul, or they could advise me on something else. And the offshoot of that, you can't define, you don't know. But the fact that you're doing something, you're entertaining the possibility, you're suddenly opening up the universe, the world, the possibilities to a million things.
Well, Paul, I think it's bigger than that. It's not even about me and you, though, right? Because we could say something that catalyzes someone else into action on their own business, or their own journey that doesn't even involve us and never come back to us. But the butterfly effect is, someone's listened to our discussion about me starting We Audition, and they might have this app idea that they'd never thought about with any. They'll take that last thing about making a conscious decision. They're like, right, I'm going to make a conscious decision after this podcast to get my ass up off the couch, stop eating Doritos, and start work on creating my app because these guys did it, so why can't I? Absolutely. And we might never know. We might even download their app in the future, not ever knowing that this conversation catalyzed it.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, I've worked with performers and trained them and directed their acts and that sort of thing. And a friend of mine came back to me the other day and he showed me his notebook, and it was something that I'd said,
wow.
on passing. And this guy is now doing loads of shows and he's doing but he came back and said, you said that. And I was like, oh, did I? But it's great. And that I think that's, we have to buy into the positive. We have to find that positive drive, that energy, that inspiration, that thing that gets us going.
Yeah.
Because when you get passionate about something, we all feel it. Everybody feels it.
You know what's funny? I've started to realize that is where businesses take off, actually, is if the founder is not passionate. Mm-hmm. And like I said, we audition. It's 5 years to this point. It's a 7-year process in total. And I'm not going to say, no one actually said to me to my face, like, oh, this isn't going to work or whatever, right? Everyone's like, generally we've felt like we've gone swimmingly, right? But not like overnight success or anything. But there's not always been like a rally of support around it. Mm-hmm. But now we have a bunch of people believing in it. Casting directors, studios, shouting from their rooftops about us, right? Actors on the platform earning money. It's actors paying their rent off of the platform and going, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Now, I know that didn't exist in the first, 1, 2, maybe 3 years. No one was going, there's a few people that be like, oh, this is an exciting idea or whatever, but no one was like, this thing is great. But you know who was saying that? Me and my partners. Right. We're like, no, we know what we're doing, right? We never knew what we did. Sorry, we didn't know what it would become, but we knew what we were doing, what we were trying to achieve. And we were steadfast on that. And your passion is infectious because if you don't fully believe in something, no one else is going to believe in it, right? Yeah. And that's the mistake that a lot of people make is, whether you're pitching a film or whatever, if you say to me, I've got this film idea, and I was like, what's it about? It's like, it's kind of a rom-com. Yeah, I mean, hey, it's not going to be any, it's not going to be the next Stranger Things, but already I'm disinterested in your boring project.
Yeah.
That's not going to be this and not going to be that.
Yeah.
Great. Well, good luck with that, dude. Go away and do it. But the same point, I don't like the people that are like, this is going to be bigger than Back to the Future. Well, okay, now you're being, it's possible, not going to discredit you, but what are you basing that off of, right? And so there's the people that have their head in the clouds. But what's really important, I think, is you believe and you're passionate about where you are going to take this thing, right? And that's especially in the last year of the Audition, with all my travel, when I've gone around the world. So one of the sorry, I'm going off on a tangent here, but one of the kind of aha moments for me, I've always been an actor, right? But I'm not at the top of my game, nowhere near it. There are many people that I even know personally that have done way more than me, right? So although I have a long time in this industry, I've always felt odd about giving any advice, or, I've never been one of those actors who's written a book about it or tried to do some online course about it, because I'm like, what do I know? If I knew this stuff, I would be doing better than I am. And I look at those other people and I say, well, you're going to teach me the 5 secrets of acting. Then how come you've only got 2 co-star credits in some shows I've never watched? If you knew the 5 secrets of acting for $297, you would be doing it yourself, right?
Yeah.
What changed for me last year is after running We Audition for 3 years and then going around the world, and every country I went to, every city I went to, I met with agents, casting directors, managers, and actors. I'd have one-on-one meetings with them. I'd go to acting schools and I'd talk to all the students, and then I would host a cocktail party for all the people I've met and all of our members, right? And so I attended every major film festival last year: Sundance, Cannes, Venice, Shanghai, Hainan, Berlin, Toronto. I was at every single one, hosting events, running seminars, interviewing people. Where that took me is now I'm in a place where, I can't say this categorically, but I don't know anyone that would have met more people in the industry than I have in the last year in more different places. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I feel confident that me being We Audition, we know so much about the international casting space. Yeah. From all different angles, from actors to casting directors to producers, we know so much about it. And I would possibly challenge anyone that would have that depth of experience that I got from last year. So now I feel in a place where I can be authoritative on it, right? Yeah. So even though I haven't got there as an actor myself, I've got this rounded knowledge. And so coming back to the point we were talking about previously is when you apply that knowledge into a thing, that fuels your passion, mm-hmm. right? Because I can now be authoritatively passionate about something with the backing that I know what I'm talking about. And that then translates into your offering to the community, mm-hmm. and how you can help people and how you can help them rise. And so that's the whole sort of circle of that. And that's why I think passion is so important in something, because I couldn't do all that stuff without the passion for actually wanting to fix the problem that we're trying to fix.
And in the journey of that, you are making yourself even more legitimate in many different ways. You add weight to yourself as a business with We Audition. You add weight to yourself as Darren Darnborough, the actor. You add weight to yourself as the writer. You add weight to yourself as the creative. And you add weight to yourself connecting with people all around the world with ideas that you don't know exist yet or haven't come to fruition.
Yeah.
You make yourself available now for someone to say, oh, there's this thing. I've got this thing. And you are now, you have legitimacy. But that doesn't happen overnight. And if you go...
Absolutely not, yeah.
You go back to the naysayers and the people who, more often than not, 99% of the time, the person who says, yeah, but that might not work, it's never about you. we take it on because we're like emotional, creative people, and we take on board all this shit, basically. You know, it's like you don't get the call from the casting director, you think they hate you, or you know, you didn't get a response from someone, or you went out with a girl and you didn't hear from her, or whatever it is. We create this narrative, the false narrative. We create it in our minds, and actually 99% of the time it's got nothing to do with that. The reason they didn't get back to you, something happened at home, there was a thing.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, and actually they come back to you down the line and they go, oh, I wanted to speak to you about this thing. I've had you in mind for ages. We did rewrites on the script. It was a new, you know, there's so many things.
There's always another story of what's going on. Yeah.
So
for sure.
It's difficult. Is that something that you deal with? Do you have this as a person in your own mind, because you're creating something that's, you know, quite big and quite out there? How do you deal with the negative perspective on things? How do you deal with taking that, not taking it on board, and how do you power through it?
Well, for me, it's just it's having a strong vision and having enough to do that I don't have time to deal with. I've already got the next thing going on. But I'm not. Look, there's been moments. There was a moment 2.5 years in when we were going to sell the audition, and we were done. And this is the story: is that it was being used, so it didn't fail, but we're like it needs to be bigger than this, otherwise it's just a hobby, right?
Yeah.
And we were working so hard on it, and we're like, we physically can't keep working this hard on it unless it grows. But at the same time, it's not doing nothing. So one of our partners decided to step down. I wanted to go away and do something else. I put the word out to sell the business as it was, sell the software. And we had 5 or 6 important companies interested, one of whom we went quite far down the line with. And at that point, I was just like, there's something here. There's something here. And we were about to wind up the company or sell it or whatever. And then we decided basically the deal didn't happen for whatever reason. And we were about to sell it. And I said, no, there's something here. It needs a bigger push. Mm-hmm. And it was just because, like I said, it hadn't failed completely as being used. And then people in a stronger position than us in business and finance and legacy were interested. I was like, there's something here. We just haven't drilled down and tapped it yet. And at that point, me and my other founder, we just committed to push really hard at it. And that's what changed. You know, here's the thing. We were coasting before. We were working hard, but we weren't hammering it. And that's what changed.
Did you have to find that thing? I mean, it needed to go through that for you to be able to discover what it could be or where it was going? Or
for me personally, I had other stuff going on. I didn't actually want to start another business at that point, but the idea was too strong for me to not. I didn't want to CEO it. I didn't want to run it day to day. But what I've learned as an entrepreneur is the person running the company needs to be so committed to it, right. So committed to it. It can't just coast. It can't. Because we've got too much noise coming from too many different angles. You've got to be on it. You've got to give it everything. And right now, look, still, we're in a place where we have many of the world's best casting directors on the platform, right? Casting director, The Witcher uses it every day. The president of the Academy uses it. Like, I mean, it's the people that are coming on board are amazing. Big studios. But there's still work to do. And I can't sit back and do nothing. That's why I'm doing this podcast today. That's why I'm about to go and take a meeting after this. And that's why, you know, I'm doing an Instagram live with Nancy Bishop tomorrow. Uh-huh. Because we need to consistently show up, you know, because nothing ever just coasts.
One of the great things with the We Audition, I mean, I've done loads of them actually. You actually meet casting directors. Mm-hmm. I've had one-to-one casting director meetings, discussions, advice for free. Yes, it's not what you know though. Sometimes,
right?
But you know, you put a lot of different. There's a lot of different aspects on it. What would you describe if someone? why should someone join We Audition other than they're going to do a script reading?
I mean, realistically, why you should join We Audition is because you want to leverage your career, right? That's what we're offering is a resource and tools and connections to help you do better. It's as simple as that. So whichever element, so obviously you got the self-tape and finding a reader element, right? Could you find a reader on your own? Sure. Could you read through Skype or Zoom? Sure. Right. You know what? You don't have a built-in community of those. So people say to us, well, why don't I just use Zoom? Okay, go out and find the person to work on Zoom with them. Because you've got to know that person already. With We Audition, you have a built-in community of good actors, right? Now, people say, well, how do I know they're good? Well, there's a review system. Look at what other people said about them. You can see their credits. But don't think it's all about that, because sometimes someone can be good at being experienced. Because being a good reader is not about being a good actor.
Yeah.
It's about, now you could be, I know friends of mine are fantastic actors and they're terrible with being a self-tape partner. They're either giving me notes I don't want, or they're getting bored, or they're like, got some disdain or whatever, right? With the, you know, or I've had it before where people have been patronizing about the level of role I'm going for. You know, I'll never do this role. This is, and then you're feeling crap about yourself, whatever. With a reader on We Audition, there's no history. Yeah. They are there to serve you. They're there to do what you need them to do. So you're hiring someone, right? Then, okay, if you're a reader on We Audition, because actors can also be readers, why should someone join it? You're going to earn money. That's a good motivator, right? Which other platforms are out there that allow you to earn money instantly? And if you're not earning more than your membership fee, you're not using it right. Simple as that.
Right.
Membership, okay. $10 a month.
$10 a month.
We have people paying all of their monthly bills, you know, rent, car, everything from their earnings, right? For casting, again, why would somebody, I'll use the other example. Why would you use We Audition and not use Zoom, right? Well, because We Audition is built for casting. So it speaks your language. So everything looks like what it should. It's where we have features that are useful for casting, script uploads, waiting rooms, actor profiles, right? It's connected in the way you want it. The way the videos are recorded and stored is how they would be in a real environment for casting. So we built it with the knowledge of casting. It's free, so why wouldn't you use it?
Yeah.
Our video chat is as good quality, if not better sometimes. So it makes sense that we've built it for this one purpose. Skype and all of that is a one size fits all. It's hard to schedule people through there. You still got to have all that extra fuss. So, you know, Zoom is fantastic. It is, but it's for everyone. We Auditions for casting.
Yeah.
And sometimes in business, you need to niche down and do something very well for one type of person. And so that's why people should join it. But what's interesting is, you know, when we started out, it didn't take long for some people to launch competitive products. And I had a few people email me and say, oh, have you seen this? It looks like We Audition. Have you seen this? And I was like, yeah, I'm aware of it. They're like, there's pretty much not a lot going on in this business that someone can tell me that I'm not already aware of, just because it's my world and I see it as it comes, probably before it's even launched, actually. But the people say to me, aren't you worried about that? And I just laugh, because I'm like, no, do you know what? Because they just built what we built 2 years ago. We're already on to the next thing. Like, so when we was doing the rehearsal platform, someone else built a rehearsal platform, but we already on to doing auditions. We already had casting directors onboarding. So then someone else is like, oh yeah, let's do an audition thing. And someone said to me like, oh, they launched We Audition, you know, the same thing as you. They might, you know, their software is just as good. What's something I said, they're going to have to work very hard to build the community that we have. We did build a software. We did, but we're not a software company, right? It's not about the software. You know, if you're Trader Joe's, I can build a supermarket next to you and sell products, but there'll still be people that want Trader Joe's products, right? Because Trader Joe's has a built-in affinity with their goods and their way of doing things and their service and everything. It's like, you could launch a product like mine tomorrow, but are you going to build the community like I built?
And
I doubt it.
We're going to raise we're gonna raise the what is it? Raise the boats. A high tide raises all boats, and
Right.
so there's nothing wrong with competition. If someone wants to get involved in the idea, fine. Hopefully, your direction and your clarity of point of view is strong enough to weather that, and sometimes it inspires you to push forward even more.
Yeah, it does. But also, I think what's interesting about entrepreneurship is we know why we're doing this, right? Now, when someone launches a competitive product in any industry, often it comes from a place of just wanting to make money.
Yeah.
Right? They see something working and they jump on that bandwagon. If you don't have the drive and the passion, if you don't understand the nuances of what you're trying to achieve, you're going to get bored and you're not going to be able to solve those issues. And like I said, again, one of the things that I realized in the last couple of years, yes, I'm an actor. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur. But what I realized I do, and this ties into Brits in LA, it ties into the charity work I do. I build communities. That's really what I do.
Right.
All of my businesses, whether they've been online or in person, is about building communities, about connecting people to make stuff happen.
Mm-hmm.
That connecting people to make stuff happen that they want to happen.
Yeah.
So why would you join We Audition? I mean, I'll read you. I'm going to read you a testimonial from one of our long-standing members, Carrie. Carrie was in Black Panther and Luke Cage in Avengers, right? Carrie has been a member for, I think, 4 or 5 years. We Audition has been an amazing platform for me to use as I prepare for auditions, rehearsals, and performances on screen. I've met a large array of actors, coaches, and casting directors that have given me feedback, advice, and support that's pushed my career forward in great ways. I've also been offered and booked a few roles through the networking events that We Audition has offered. I'm extremely thankful to Darren, Rich, and the We Audition family. Mm-hmm. That's why you join We Audition, right? Now, if you use it like Carrie uses it, that's the leverage that she's found. Now, Carrie's been to Sundance with us. She's been to Cannes with us. She's spoken on our panels. She came to the BAFTAs with me, right? Because she's one of our MVPs, our most valuable players, right? She is a person that took this resource, used every element of it to leverage her career. And as a result, we and the community leverage her back. I didn't ask her to call it the We Audition family. Mm-hmm. What other website do you call that? We use a bunch of websites in the business, but we don't see it as a community or a family. So that's our point of difference is you are helping each other rise. And you're networking with amazing people. I did an Instagram live the other day with an actress that popped up, just wanted to speak. And as, we were chatting about some stuff and I looked up her profile and I was like, wow, your reel is amazing. Like she's in the Sinner opposite Bill Pullman and all the other people on Instagram were like, wait, there's people like this when we audition. I'm like, yes, this is the point. Why would you rehearse with your neighbor when you can work with this girl that's just worked opposite Bill Pullman? Why would you do this?
Yeah.
You're only hurting yourself. We have given you a way to access the best people in the world. Use it.
Absolutely.
And that's how I will explain it to people that are on the fence is like, if you have a network of people around you that are booking roles on major stuff regularly, then go ahead and use them. If you don't, then this is what it's here for.
And how are you going to come to a new place, be it London, LA, Vancouver, Brisbane, wherever you are? How are you, without knowing people, how do you get into community? How do you network? How do you connect? And the answer, if I wrote down my journey to where I am now and went back to the beginning of it, that's not a business plan. That would be thrown out of Dragon's Den. It's like, well, that's impossible. How can you do that? And you have to be passionate and committed to the outcome. And I've heard things like, well, what have you done? You're not famous. How you don't compare to this person because they've got a bigger CV than you,
right? And
you go, oh shit, yeah. But then you go, actually, I've done a shitload. And it's not always the direct thing that I've done. But, I've done a lot as a performer in many different facets. And, in fact, funnily enough, I just helped someone with a self-tape and they got a lovely message back from that. And it's the ability to direct. And I'm on the platform. I'm on the We Audition platform, and so that brings value. And hopefully, someone goes, "Oh shit, Paul's done quite a few things. It may not be direct, but again, so coming full circle, you connect, you network. I mean, I met my accountant through you.
Right.
I was potentially going to Cannes this year and doing an event because of these connections. This didn't happen by itself, and it was, it's the getting off the couch. It can be virtual and it can be real.
The main thing I think with point of community and how you build community, and this is something you're doing right now, is you give value. Most people think about what do I need, right? But community is about giving value. And when you do that from a real and authentic pace, that's how true relationships happen. You're asking me on this podcast, this is giving value to my purpose and my projects, right?
Right.
And most people don't think about that. They think about, what do I need?
Yeah. What is it for me?
Yeah.
Is there a direct route? And it's like, well, sometimes you can't see the direct route. That's not for us to know at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I always think back to my first time in Cannes. I decided to go like really last minute, the day before. My only reason to go was I was invited to a party that I wanted to go to, and I was like, I really want to go to this party. And then I thought, no, I can't go all the way to Cannes for a party. That's stupid. So then I text 10 friends, and I was like, if one of them replies, says yes, I'll come, I'll go. And that's what happened. So it was a director that I'd met, that I'd hung out with a few times. He said, yeah, I want to go and do this short film challenge thing. So we went, we became friends. I invited another friend to join me, and he came out, and after a few days he went home again. And his narrative for Cannes was, when we spoke with other friends, is like, they're like, oh, was it great? It's like, yeah, it was fun, but yeah, I probably won't go back. Like, nothing happened. I was like, what do you mean nothing happened? We did all this stuff. He's like, yeah, but I mean, in a career sense, nothing happened. And I always thought that's odd, because I was like, what are you expecting to happen in 3 days, right? Well, fast forward 7 years later, when I made my first short film as a director, that director that I went to Cannes with has become one of the best trailer editors in the world. And he's now actually a director of award-winning feature films in major festivals, right? But in that interim, he was one of the world's best trailer editors. Pretty much every big movie you've seen, he's done the trailer for.
Right.
Did my trailer for my short film, right? My lead actress was a girl that I met at Sundance 7 years before that at a dinner that I hosted for British talent, right? She wasn't even British. She came with someone else, but she was right for the role. We kept in touch, and she ended up being my lead. Marius, who you know through Brits in LA, produced it. We talked about that 10 years ago.
Marius.
Marius is a producer of it. The financier was a guy that I met through an ex-girlfriend who had a friend in New York that was friends with this guy, that wanted to do some fun stuff in LA and was happy to pay for it. So he sponsored an Oscar party I was involved in for the film The Artist.
Right.
Had a great time, was like, hey, I want to get into movies. Do you have any projects?
Yes.
And we end up starting a film company together. So, but they're the things when people say, and people would say to me, why are you helping charities, or why are you handling, an event for an award show? Well, hey, that's how I got my film made, actually.
So what was this film?
It's called Stefano Formaggio. It's on Amazon Prime right now.
Stefano Formaggio. Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's about cheese.
About cheese.
Yes.
So we can watch that on Prime. They can.
You can watch it on Amazon Prime, yeah.
Amazon
Stefano
Prime.
Formaggio.
Stefano Formaggio. Is that a short? Or...
It's a short. It's 20 minutes, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. We shot it in Carmel in California.
Oh, lovely. I haven't been there.
Place. Oh, it's gorgeous. This film will make you want to go there. It's a gorgeous place.
I need to do a bit of California traveling once things open up a little bit again.
Right.
Well, listen, we've been talking for a while.
Yes, we have.
And you've got a few things to do. Let's just finish off with looking forward, looking to the positive. You're a very positive guy. I think you come at things from a positive aspect, and I think that's why things happen for you. It's contagious, So what's next? what's next? What do you see happening? Where are things going?
For me, or for the industry, or what?
Bit of both, really.
Well, for me, like right now, honestly, this doesn't sound very positive, but I'm not making any plans. Because the world is changing so rapidly. So I'm literally not making plans from sometimes day to day, but definitely not week to week. Just because who knows what's going to go on, borders are opening, closing, whatever. Yeah. Like I said, last year we produced a lot of events around the world. We did all the festivals. We were taking We Audition members to these big houses and festivals. We had to cancel a Cannes one. I had people ask me about Toronto. I had people ask me about Venice. And I was like, hey, we're not making any plans right now. And of course, those got cancelled or became virtual. Now the Emmys is pushed, or it's going to be virtual. The Oscars is pushed. So in terms of our live events, it's not that we will never do them again, but I'm not going to make any plans right now. We're putting all the attention onto the online platform and the software and building it out to just be the stuff we're doing, guys, is going to be, it's amazing. We're developing AI casting, right? Artificial intelligence casting that's going to help battle the unconscious biases that exist in our industries. In terms of representation on screen, in terms of diversity and inclusivity and having people seen for roles. We've already, we've never been a platform that asks you what your race is or your height or your gender. Everyone on our platform is an actor. They create a profile, and that profile is exactly what they want it to be. And they describe themselves however they want to describe themselves using tags, right? Mm-hmm. So we've always been a champion of like, hey, we're not going to put you in boxes. Show up in the way you want to show up. Furthermore to that, we will never list an audition that has any descriptive bias in it. So if the casting director or the producer wants to have that in their own mind, we're not going to encourage that, or we're not going to facilitate that. What we're going to do is do the opposite and force them to be open with who they see.
Right.
So that they can be surprised. If you're looking for a doctor, I don't want to hear a Caucasian doctor, right, age 40. Right. Why?
Right.
Why?
Right.
Now, if it's a historical context, so we allow them to, if they've got a specific reason. But that's not one of the things that we're doing to make things better in the industry. Mm-hmm. Is we're just taking a stand and we're saying, look, we're in a credible position. We have a voice. We could easily lose market. We could easily lose fans, but we don't care because this is the way we think it should be going forward. And yeah, it's going to be a bit more work for you. Sorry.
Right.
But look at the positive, right? And if you don't want to take on the extra work to achieve this result, then thanks, go somewhere else, right? Because hopefully they won't go somewhere else. Hopefully it will catalyze other people into thinking the same and stop doing things the same way they've always been doing it. So because our industry is a lot of that. Our industry is it's done that way because it's done that way, right? And because no one wants to stand up and make a difference. For me personally, I'm loving Vancouver. I'm going to stay as long as I can. Maybe I'll go back to being a nomad afterwards. Maybe I'll come back to LA. What I think is very positive about this, of course, there's horrific stuff about the pandemic. I don't wish it on anyone. But if you're going to take some positives out of it, for me personally, it's been about, really going, calming down and being more specific and being more present and all those things. And out of that has come some sort of, in both my personal life and my work and everything, just more focus and more direction. And so for me, I know myself as an actor, my work is going to change. There's a big push for diverse talent, which is awesome. And I think I support that. At the same time, I'm a pragmatic person. I know that will mean my trend is going to decrease. I'm a middle-aged white guy, right? I'm not angry at that, but I'm taking it for what it is. So what I'm choosing to do is reinvest my energy. It's not that I won't be an actor anymore. I absolutely will. And I welcome it and I want to do it. But I'm also happy to give the stage out to other people that have had it harder in the past, right? Because I have this other angle that I can direct my creative energy to with We Audition and create positive change there as well. So yeah, for me, it's just about how can I show up and create more positivity and good things in the world. And in the industry, guys, like I know there's a lot of like, when are things going to get back to normal? And you miss this and you miss that. I just want to say to people watching this that not all change is bad, right? And a lot of the change I'm seeing is good. For those of you that don't like virtual auditions, I'm going to be blunt, get the hell used to it. I've been speaking with major studios, major cast directors all around the world. No one's going to put themselves in a position again of risk. And actually, casting directors are saying they are finding performances being more authentic through video chat because people are in their own space, they're in their own zone, right? Mm-hmm. We're more connected. We're a visual medium anyway. This is how you're going to end up. So why are you worried about being in person all the time? It's not theater. And even in theater, you're far away. It's this whole thing about being close to I want to get in the room is a bit ridiculous, right? When you break it down. But when I have an actor say to me, I prefer to be in the room, this is what I'm going to say to them now is you are being very, very selfish, right? And here's the reason why. You prefer to be in the room because you feel like you do better. You want to have a personal relationship with the cast director. Well, that costs the casting director money or the production money to have that physical space, that actual space. It inconveniences everyone because everyone has to show up somewhere. So it means everyone's driving somewhere and waiting. So I want to be in the room makes a ton of people wait in a place where they can't really get stuff done or be comfortable. You're exposing everyone to risk of virus or infection. There's more fertile ground for abuse and assault, sexual assault and things like that, right? If someone's not in the same room, they can't do that. Or it can be done in a more limited form. And if you do, you can just close down your computer. You're saving your own money, expenses and time. You're saving the environment for not polluting it so much. Tell me what's bad about that.
I think it's both. I mean, I think we've pushed forward, and for where it's valuable, absolutely. I mean, it seems a waste of time, this kind of one-to-one physical audition when it doesn't have to be, and it was already going that way anyway. I mean, that was
there's entire shows that have been cast off Skype.
Absolutely,
they've never seen people in person, and we all watched them. Yeah,
and that's that's been happening for years in some ways as well.
Yeah,
obviously, sometimes we need to have people together. There's going to be interaction.
Oh, I don't mean I mean just for auditioning in general.
Yeah, absolutely,
not in life.
But this is, but even for when we move down the line, you're going to. Your co-star, you want to be, you have to physically be with them
on set, yes,
or or eventually when matching up. So it's not an absolute. And I think things are going to get back. Eventually, we'll be fine. We
will. But what I'm saying is, look, in the same way that we all use color headshots now instead of black and white.
Absolutely,
there's changes that should have been made. That should have been changed years ago. There's no good reason. We need to use experiences like this to pick apart what's not working.
Yeah, and actually fundamentally it's this need to drive to the office, this need to spend an hour and a half in a car or on the tube or whatever it is, and we're suddenly realizing, you know what? It's not about the pandemic, it's not about that. It's about the fact that what a waste of time. This idea that you've got to be seen 12 hours at a desk every day when you can work more effectively in 4 from home. The facility, the technology is now there. You're facilitating this new wave, this new technology, and the ability to do far, far more than you would ever do in person. You're going to meet We Audition. You're going to meet casting directors you never, ever meet. You never speak to. Like you said, those actors that you get the chance to work with. My God, you get to work with people who've actually done those things that you're trying to do.
Right.
You never, ever get the opportunity to do that.
And talking of opportunity, the more efficient the whole business can be, the more people they can see, right? So it works always is if we stop worrying about our time in the room and forgetting our sunglasses and all that jazz that goes on, everyone's got the same amount of time. So the quicker you can see people, the more people you can see. And that's what's been happening, so yeah, but we should probably wrap this up now because
absolutely. I think we've got to the
exhausted
the positive close on it. Darren, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. It's lovely to see
I'm mainly
you.
saying that because I need to use the restroom.
Yeah, me too.
It'd be entirely inappropriate to do in the middle of an interview. Yeah.
No, I think we've hit the nail on the head. And listen, everybody get on board. Check out weaudition.com.
Thank you.
You can get on there. You sign up. I think you sign up for free, don't you?
There's a free basic profile, which allows you to do a lot of stuff. We never charge people to audition or meet casting directors. And then the pro profile has a lot more stuff that you can do. It's $10 a month. And that also allows you to make money as a reader.
You'll want to sign up for the paid thing for sure. Once you get on it, it's not.
Well, here's the thing, guys. Like what we say, you can cancel it any time.
Yeah.
And if you don't make the money back by reading, then you're using it wrong.
Yeah.
So just try it out. Like sign up, pay the money, and if you don't like it, cancel it. And if you cancel within 14 days, we even give you a refund. So
yeah, you won't. You'll get on it and you'll use it. Darren,
that's why we do it, because if it's really not right for you, I don't want to take your money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thanks a lot again. Lovely.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to see you, man.
And I can't wait for you to come back and actually see
Right.
you in person.
So we can actually have an in-person beer.
We're due
Good to see you, man.
Take care. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye-bye.